So many of my constituents have been very concerned with the impacts from, as well as battling the proposed construction of the TransSource high-voltage power transmission line that has been proposed to be built through significant preserved farmland in York County. Not sure if you're aware of this, but this would be the first market efficiency project in the PJM territory. And my understanding is that this project is being proposed to be built because Maryland needs power. They are quickly going down a path of shutting down coal and gas plants. I believe they may not have even built a new power plant in the last 10 years as they've had significant population growth, relying more on wind and solar, which is great, but much less reliable with a growing population. And this proposal was really looking at reducing the cost of energy to the Maryland, Washington, D.C. suburbs. So this project, as originally proposed, would have increased the energy rates to Pennsylvania ratepayers while reducing the rates to Maryland ratepayers. There's a proposed compromise in the works, and we're still looking at what those numbers are. My understanding is it would less directly impact our preserved farmland. But following up on the line of questioning that Senator Pittman began with you, if Pennsylvania joins RGGI, which you've already stated would be a $300 million tax on Pennsylvanians, how much more are we going to end up paying because of other states' decisions on energy policy?
So, two things. One, and I think just thank you for the question, because I think useful clarification that it's $300 million in allowance prices. That's allowance prices across the PJM market, right, that we would be the recipient of that portion of. So it's not necessarily to say that that is a $300 million cost within that, and it's not necessarily to say that that is how that plays itself out in rates directly. That is a really, really complicated line to go down, and I'm more than willing to do it, but I don't want to take up your time to do it. The second piece is a piece of this that, whether it's in a RGGI context or any other context, that we will just not have control over, and even our PUC doesn't have control over under the Power Act, is the way the RTOs and ISOs operate those transmission markets. PJM develops a reliability transportation expansion plan. The facilities respond to that with proposals as to how to relieve congestion and other issues across the markets, and kind of
there's going to be congestion when other states make decisions not to be responsible for generating their own power, rely upon us to do it. Well, and how is that going to impact our rates? We're making these decisions, and it doesn't seem like you can quantify what it's going to actually mean for the individual ratepayer, right? So school districts consume a lot of energy. We have to heat schools and cool schools, and what is it going to mean to that local school property taxpayer, right? The thing I hear about the most from people is, oh my goodness, look at my local school property taxes. We'd like to eliminate them, but I have to tell you, until we can get that done, we need to figure out the best way to hold down their costs, and increasing energy costs for school districts is not a good way to go for the local school property taxpayer. Not to mention what it's going to mean for the cost of goods and services, and you can't seem to quantify any of that, either for Senator Pittman or myself.
Well, as I said, one, we're going through that modeling now in terms of that, but two, again, the rate impact is a different question. So some of the way this works, and to take that specific example, at the end of this, something that would be available to that school district is potentially money for energy efficiency projects. So one, you have a potential to acutely reduce.
And who's going to pay for that? So you're going to raise the rates of the energy, and then you're going to raise taxes to pay for products to lower the cost of energy. It sounds like you're taking money out of every which way you can from everyone's pockets.
No, it is, you're doing the two things. You're doing the energy efficiency at that school, which is obviously reducing their rates. You're doing the energy efficiency, though, at scale across the state. And what that does is mean you are not calling across the region, across the PJM region, you're not calling that next most expensive and that next most expensive source of electricity. And that brings down the rate for everybody. So the two things going on simultaneously are, one, energy efficiency projects that have an acute impact on that particular facility. But two, you're also, by investing in energy efficiency, you are shaving off the peak, and that peak is what drives the price of electricity in each of the service territories.
I will look forward to seeing your
Yeah, yeah.
models, because having served as a school board director and looking at those kinds of things, what I can tell you is that oftentimes the rate of return on those energy efficiency projects are not what you think they are. And in fact, in doing a lot of those projects, it often costs us more. So I will look forward to your modeling, but I have to say that there's still a tremendous amount of unanswered questions with regard to this proposal.